Well. Who would have thought a few weeks ago we'd be starting a QPR preview show by saying that we're joint top of the league, sitting third only on goal difference, but that's where we are. We'll be looking ahead to the Luton and Cardiff matches shortly, but before that, as usual, let's look back on last week. 2-1 win against Reading. It was hard work against them, not a match that you could particularly sit back and enjoy, but we got the job done, Dave.
Yeah, it was a really good night, wasn't it? I mean, I think we knew it'd be a tough game. Probably harder than even I thought it was going to be. But it was great to come through it. To come from a goal behind. We haven't done that this season. I think to win a game was big, and to win without Willock, it was a massive, massive night for us. I thought Bill did really well with his changes. The game was kind of drifting a little bit, wasn't it? At 1-1, and he went to a back three and changed the midfield up. It just shows kind of the strength we've got in depth. They were able to bring on Amos, Dazelle, and Dickey, and we seemed to get stronger and stronger as it went on. Finally got the win in the end.
Yeah. Reading just make it a hard watch, don't they? The long balls, the taking the time, long throws, and it makes me laugh. It was one of those again where Joe Lumley was taking about 30 seconds a minute for every goal kick, and then the last seconds he's rushing the ball out again. And I don't know why teams do that, because the way they play is going to make them difficult for most teams, isn't it? But like you say, first time for a while that we've come back. I think it might be 7 months since I know there's the summer, but since we'd come back from being behind to win a game, 9-point week, unbeaten in 5, 1 defeat in 9. Why can't it be April instead of October, hey?
Exactly. You said about Lumley, it did make me laugh. His penalty technique's always been the same. He gets in their forward's face, he jumps around, bangs the crossbar, and then dives the wrong way every single time. I was never been so confident we were going to score a penalty in my life. We were going to score that one. I'm sure we were going to score it.
Yeah, I think last season they beat Man United, didn't they, on penalties? But I don't think he saved one. I think he went the wrong way on every one, didn't he? Yeah. Thankfully we didn't let him get one over us on this time, and we now play the teams that are 9th, 10th, and 11th in the next 3 games. First up is Luton, who are 10th, and we've got more positive stats incoming for you. It's one of our best recent head-to-heads, 4 wins in a row. We've not lost a league game against them since 2006. We've only lost 2 of the last 26 meetings going back to 1988. I will counter that by saying that we've lost match number 14 in the last 3 seasons, and last season it was the rather poor trip to Peterborough. Have you seen anything of Luton so far this season, Dave?
I've not seen much of them this season, but they do every year. They seem to have got a little bit better, and they made the playoffs last year. I think they're a really strong side. They've got limited budget, but they seem to get the best out of what they've got. They're always hard working. They never give you a second on the ball, and they've got a lot of quality in the side as well. This is a really, really tough one. I mean, like you say, we've had it over them the last couple of years, and we seem to always beat them. And their manager doesn't like us very much.
No.
Hopefully we can keep that run going on Saturday.
Yeah, they've not lost many. I didn't lost the same as us 3. There's too many draws. I think only Preston and Burnley have drawn more. It's like you say, they're just solid. They're never going to let you. They kind of remind me of when Burnley, I suppose, were in the Premier League. You just know you're never going to get an easy game there. They're going to work for every ball. They've got Morris, I think he's got 6 goals. Freeman, obviously Luke Freeman used to be with us. He hasn't started for them recently, but you imagine if he got on, he'd be wanting some revenge, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I think he'd be desperate to do well against us, wouldn't he? His career's really stalled since he left, hasn't it?
Oh, massively. Yeah. It's like 3 years, and I think he's maybe played 20, 30 games or something. It's unbelievable the way it worked out for him, really. Like you mentioned, and then as well, Nathan Jones. We can't preview Luton without touching on him. For me, he's one of the biggest hypocrites in football, isn't he? Pounds his chest in the stand when his team wins, and then he's the first to moan if anyone even dares celebrate against Luton.
Yeah, he is going to be desperate to beat us. I mean, he was nearly in tears last year when we beat him with a late goal. I mean, yeah, he is going to be desperate. So this is going to be a really tough one. It's similar, I think, to Sheffield United. They're not as good as Sheffield United, but it's a really tough place to go. I'm going to have to play well to get anything here. It'd be it's a good gauge to see where we are. We've come off a really big high. We're going to be going into a place where everyone's desperate to beat us. How can we react? How are we going to do against them?
Yeah, it's funny that you say everyone wants to beat us. Why do Luton hate us so much?
Oh, it goes back a long way. I remember back in the 80s, there was always a real rivalry with them. And then there was always the away supporter ban, wasn't there? You weren't allowed to go to Luton, but QPR fans always went, and there was always loads there. Yeah, there's always been a bit of needle between the two clubs.
Yeah. From a QPR perspective, we know Willock isn't out for too long. Definitely going to miss these 2 games we're previewing here. Probably the following 2 as well. But it's a major relief, isn't it, that he could be back before the end of the month even.
Oh yeah, it was the best news you could have, really. I was expecting him to be out for quite a while. So, if he's only for 2 weeks, I think that's a real positive. They showed they can win without him, but we're obviously a much better side with him. If we've got ambitions to go up this year, you need him playing the majority of the time.
Yeah, definitely. We did obviously beat Reading without him, but it did feel like harder work, didn't it? It wasn't quite that same level of understanding between the players. All we have to hope, obviously, with Beale, that because he had the week off, he'll have been working on things, working on shape without him, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be a bit more comfortable this week without him, won't they? Maybe a question mark over Ethan Laird. I know he said he was fine, but he's obviously said his hamstring felt tight against Reading. Is it though still a warning that overusing him and Parl, we'd love them to play every match, but it's just not going to be able to happen, is it?
Yeah, it's not. I think you're probably safer swapping around with Kakai. I thought he done quite well when he come on last week. I think he can do. He's not as good as Laird, but he can do a solid job for you. You got more problems resting Powell. There isn't a lot behind him. Nico was not very good, was he, when he come in at the start of the season? And I don't think and he's injured anyway, and I don't think there's anyone else. So it's hard to see how you're going to rest Powell, but we are going to have to be careful with Laird because you don't want him. It's all right missing the odd game, but you don't want him missing 6 or 7 games. He's a big player for us.
I have a suspicion if Powell does miss anything, I think he'll play Clark Salter, won't he, as a left back? I cannot see Hammerline coming back in. They'll know all the stats on how poor he is, and at the end of the day, I know it's harsh, but he just simply isn't good enough, is he?
No, sadly not. He got his chance. He's in a couple of games to start the season, but you could tell the drop straight away when he come in. He was really struggling, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The results suffered as well when he was in.
Yeah, moving on to Lyndon Dykes, 2 goals. He's the first QPR player to get a brace since he did it himself, ironically, against Reading. You could see his confidence at the end of the game, couldn't you?
Yeah, I was so pleased for him that he got back on the score sheet. He looked a different player after he got the first goal. His hold-up play was a lot better. He was getting involved. He always works hard for the team, but he just looked a lot sharper after that goal. And I thought he showed a lot of bottle to take the penalty. He could have he got his goal. He could have easily let someone else have that, but he just grabbed the ball straight away. This is mine, and he took it really well. And hopefully this is a kickstart for him. He's always scored his goals in little bursts, hasn't he? So maybe he's going to go on a little run now for us. It'd be great to see. He struggled up till now, hasn't he? But hopefully it's a turning point for him.
Yeah, hopefully he can get another one this weekend because you've said it on a few previous shows. If he can get a run of goals, he seems to then keep going, doesn't he? It's just that his bad runs do the same thing. But fingers crossed he's on to a winner now. The only other question mark, I suppose, is at the back. We saw Rob Dickie obviously back on the pitch against Reading. It was actually odd seeing him come on as a sub, wasn't it? Because we've been so used to seeing him start every match whenever he's been here. Does he start now against Luton, do you think?
It's difficult to see. I think Balogun, if he's fit, will probably come back in, won't he? And I can't see him not playing. Clark Salter, I thought, was really impressive against. I think it'll be Balogun and Clark Salter at the weekend. But it's another week where you've got the 3 games. So I'd expect Dunn and Dickie to feature at some point over the next week. I don't think he'll stick with just 2 for the 3 games.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Because most people would say you want a settled back 4, but we almost want to rotate them to keep them fresh, and they're all such good options. Kind of goes against what you'd normally think with the defenders, doesn't it? So overall, against Luton, we know that even a draw will take us top for a few hours, with it being the earlier kickoff. Is that the minimum you'd want from this game?
Oh yeah, I think a draw is a good result there. I'll definitely take that before a ball's kicked. I think, but we're quite capable, and there's nothing we should be scared of in this league. I say Luton are a good side, and they're not going to be easy, but we're a good side as well. There's a lot of talent in this squad, and we've got to go there full of confidence. We're on a good run. We've got to make the most of it. You're on a good run, and confidence is high.
Yeah, exactly. I think it comes to that, doesn't it? They must be. They're not going to be much more confident than they are at the moment. They're flying up the league, 3 wins in a row. Let's hope they can at least get something from the game. And then we have to follow it up against Cardiff, who we play on Wednesday. They're 11th as we speak. overall in our history, as you can see below, there's somehow only ever been 14 draws in 81 matches. There's been no draws between us since 2016. QPR have won 4 of the last 6. We talked on the show a fortnight ago about the league table changing so quickly, and had we played Cardiff then, it looked a lot better on paper. But they've shot up the league table in the last week into the top half with 7 points from 9, including back-to-back wins heading into this weekend. A change of manager has clearly helped them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I think they still haven't got a permanent manager yet. I don't know if they've given it to Hudson or not yet.
I don't think so.
No, but yeah, but they're one of them sides in the middle that you think if they get the managerial appointment right, and they could easily push on and get in, maybe push for the playoffs this year, or it could go the other way from there. They're one of a number of sides. You just don't know which way it's going to go from in a minute. Basically, probably would have been better to play them a couple of weeks ago when they were flat and they're coming down on a high. But we're at home. It's you've got to look to win your home games, and it's one of them. Last year we played them. It felt like that was the day the kind of season all went wrong, didn't it? We lost to them 2-1 at home. We really should have won that game. So it'd be nice to try and turn that round and get a result this time.
Yeah, definitely. I think the danger man's maybe Callum Robinson. He looks a good signing from West Brom. I was actually surprised he went down to Cardiff in a way. 2 goals and 3 assists in his 6 games. Overall, though, they're not scoring many, but they've only conceded 1 a game. Potentially a tight affair. Could be like Reading match, I suspect. I don't think anyone's going to run away with that one, despite the fact that we rarely draw, like I said. From a QPR perspective, are you expecting it to be similar to the 3-game week last week where there's changes in midfield especially?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think I imagine your Hansen will play at the weekend and then probably miss out on Wednesday. You can bring someone like Amos or Dazelle in like you did at Sheffield United. I imagine that's where you'll see the most rotation in midfield. That really worked well for us last week. It kept it very fresh. He was able, he's got a lot of options in there, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's probably hoping that he's 2 or 3-0 up on Saturday so he can take some off early. It depends on matches like that, doesn't it? If a 1-0 down against Luton, he's going to have to keep the key men on to fight for that. Things like that can change it, but I think he's almost guaranteed to rotate as much as he can, isn't he? Because he's obviously had Willett go out injured. He's had that scare with Laird, and players I thought did look tired against Reading at the end. Ilias Chair was literally dead on his feet at the end, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, but he's one that there isn't anyone you could really bring in for Chair. He's such a unique player, and there's no one really on the bench. Yeah, you're going back down to someone like George Thomas to come in, and then like the quality. I mean, he does his best for us, but the quality does drop, doesn't it? When you bring someone like that in.
Well, yeah, massive. I mean, I've defended George Thomas on some past podcasts last season, but when you then see someone like Tyler Roberts come in, you see that the drop down to Thomas is a lot more pronounced, isn't it? We should probably mention Tenny Dieng as well, because he didn't show it in his all-round movement, but he was throwing the ball out, wasn't he, on Friday whenever he could. Are you concerned about him?
Yeah, you need to keep him fit. He's so big for us. You saw at the end with that, they had the free kick and they put everyone forward, and he just went, "Get out of the way! I'm just coming out and claiming it." He makes such a difference to that defence and to this whole team. I've always said I think his injury last year was a massive part of why it all went wrong for us. We really missed him, but we're going to have to be careful with him, like we've said with Laird. It might be a case of you have to leave him out of one game, just to rest him and get him ready. You don't want to lose him for a long period, and he won't want to be out. He's got a World Cup coming up, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's good. The problem, isn't it? When you think of some of the players, you think, well, they've got the World Cup rest, whereas he's not going to have that. He's going to be travelling around, whether he plays or not, but he's still going to be not having the rest that he could have potentially had. Overall, against Cardiff at home under the lights, so you're hoping for good things.
Yeah, you've always got to hope at home. I mean, you got to fancy us. We're in good form, so we're playing well. I fancy home against anyone really. I think we can beat him if we turn up and play as well as we can do. We'll win that one, hopefully.
Yeah, I think if we can get 3 or 4 points from these 2 and then build on that against Wigan next week, just keeps us heading in the right direction, doesn't it? I mean, I'd probably take 4 points now, obviously, if you offered it. God, if knowing QPR, we'll lose both, and then we'll wonder what's happening again. But
yeah.
So as I say, it's Wigan up next week. We'll preview that in the next show. Join us for that. Thank you for watching, and come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.